Welcome to Winter Solace. It's early in the morning, 9 o'clock, according to my computer. The 12th month, 22nd day, 2011. Yes, December 21st. We got 1 year until what some people call the end time, or the end of the world. The Mayan and all these prophecies of Nostradamus and all the theater actors have been going for a few years now. Some theories here and theories there, and books and all kinds of people making money and stuff. Well, personally, I'm an American. I don't get fooled too easy. And I do believe sometime today we could finish this disc off knowing that the sun is shining here in Rhode Island. And 50 degrees, it seems like 40, 50 degrees out there. And I fed my squirrels and birds, and sun glaring. What a wonderful, amazing day. Now, if we get through this day, and I didn't make it up to the tower up there in Newport, you know, the so-called mystery tower where the alignments have been going on for hundreds of years. This is supposed to be the new Atlantis. I expected all the esoteric and secret societies and elite to have done something that stopped me from doing what I was supposed to do. Well, I'm here, and this is my prayer. I have the stone. I will place it in my hands. And this is my prayer. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Nasta'inu wa iyyakum nasta'in. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta alayhim ghayril maghdubi. That's an ancient prayer that was taught to me by a couple of brothers, or angels I call them. One died, one lived. When the stone was found, shortly after running the mill up in New Bedford and getting run out of Massachusetts again. I'm exiled here in Rhode Island because Massachusetts went right for the knees when I was raising my children. Now I'm retired here, and I'm not raising my children. Going out with a bang. I'm a black patriot, all-American. You know my record. Look for my YouTubes and Planet Seeder and Facebook, Twitter. My website is www.capeverdean.net. Google my name, Wayne, W-A-Y-N-E, Barboza, B-A-R-B-O-Z-A. I've been poor, I've been rich, I've been in all kinds of situations that I'm sure can be verified. As much as you can see, I'm still here. This is a miracle. This is the most amazing story there is. And I have projected all these energies and experiences into the storm of tyranny, and poverty, and hunger, and drugs, and violence, and prisons, and wars. I've traveled across oceans and been to many countries, and all for a reason. And I'm telling you today that 2012 is in our hands. And I put websites out there just to put, I ain't got money for this. You know, you can't raise 13 children and expect to have some kind of 401k or you know, take care of you for the rest of your life. I know I'm going to spend the rest of my life in poverty because we don't never have money to support truth. If you see someone out there saying they're telling you the truth, check to see how they're living. See who they're around. If they're around, you know, the elite and wealthy, I don't think they're there for us. Unless you can hear them speak and do for us. All the leaders we've had have not done a damn thing for us. They've all know things that we don't know, so they have an advantage over us. And I just can't see no more of this suffering that's going on out there with our children. I can't live it. I mean, they got the parents so dumbed down with chemicals and brainwashed with programs, eugenics and geoengineering. I mean, just look up in the sky at the chemtrails. Don't be blind. Ask why it's not on the news. Why people are getting assassinated, murdered, breaking the Constitution, and yet they're in the White House, they're in Congress, they're in the Senate, they're downtown, the City Hall. Why are we homeless? Why are we hungry? Why injustice? Don't you realize by now that the power is in the hands of the people, and that the breaking this curse is simply by reaching in your pocket, taking out that cursed money, and place it on something for your future? You know, water is going to be scarce. Food is going to be scarce. Land, safe land. All these survivalists ain't crazy. All these people that are preparing ain't crazy. There will be some disasters. There will be some problems, and that's nature. And with all the imbalances in the world, and these forces of unseen powers that seem to come from the heavens and hell, you know, aliens, the angels, demons, they're a part of the game. You give them the power. So I say to everybody that is good, alright? We'll use that term good. Don't listen to them. Don't repeat what you did before. Try your best to prepare. You got 1 year. Right or wrong, what could you lose? 1 year to survive. Think about the kids. Have something for them. Start studying how to survive in case the power goes out. Love you. 12/22/2011. It's 1:18 a.m. and I am Wayne Barboza. I am the elder of the Barboza tribe here in the United States, east coast of New England. And this is a very important night because the alignment takes place. Yeah, we went to SARS, and in report there's a tower that has a lot of mystery behind it that we went to last year and found a bunch of Masons doing some, supposedly giving a tour. The funny part about that, the night before there was a lunar eclipse. It doesn't take place, but I think every 400 years or 40 years, but a rare lunar eclipse. And it was freezing cold. There was no sun. It was all snow. I almost froze to death out there, but the spirit, the Kundalini, was kicking. And me and Steve, who's the president, fatherhood here in Rhode Island group, he definitely went through the same thing again with me. It was a spiritual thing, and we took the artifact, Parting Ways artifact, the Black Madonna, with us. And we did an ancient prayer at the time capsule that nobody seems to know much about. And we took pictures, and those pictures are on a video in one of my uploads. There's over 200 videos for you guys to catch up on what you missed. But by now, if you don't know what Cape Verdean is, then you don't know American history. If you don't know who I am and who you are, then you're still searching, and it's time for you to get off the fence, because the rabbit hole is pretty deep. You gotta stop somewhere, and these professionals and these amateurs are being used by whatever force there be on a negative side, and they're not preparing you for the events that are coming. And now these are earthly events, and these are heavenly events, as above, so below. If you want to go to one of my websites, www.capeverdean.net. That's CapeVerdean.net. N-T. Now you shouldn't be able to mess that up. If you can't get it that way, just use my name. My name is Wayne Barboza. Alright, Wayne Ibn Musa Barboza. Ibn Musa meaning the son of Moses. Yes, my father's name is Moshe or Moses Musa. That's Creole. And Cape Verde is the islands off the coast of West Africa. My genetic leans towards being a victim of the hybridization program done by Prince Henry during the time of the transatlantic slave trade, and it was all a scheme between the Knights of Christ, Prince Henry's idea of building a New Jerusalem or founding the New Atlantis here in America. And we got to keep in mind that the Knights of Christ who built the castle and cathedral citadel out there in the islands are the only link. It's the breast of Africa. It's the only link the African Americans have to the truth. And in fact, America has no history without telling this one. So be advised, because this is the truth, and we ain't got time to race. Thank you, and God bless.
Again, the towers of fertility burn, just like the fire fertility of the tarot or the torch, with the twin pillars and the burning towers. Because we're talking about the fire fertility of the Herma or the pole. Why do you think New York has the Herma in the middle? It's the chaos, the primordial grounds. Do you remember the black monolith from the film 2001, A Space Odyssey? Remember, it was the black chaos of the primordial waters giving knowledge to the monkeys. Because the primordial mound pierces the black chaos of the watery abyss. Exactly like the ritual of September 11th. And that's why we clearly saw the black monolith of death. And remember, the attacks happened in 2001, exactly like the film 2001. And a black monolith just means the black moon of Lilith, the demon death goddess. And September 11th is the birth month of the Coptic calendar, the first month of Thoth, the moon god. And the fertility Herma, the Hermes Trismegistus, the fire fertility, gives us the Hermetic maxim, as above, so below, which today gives us the Hermetic order of the Golden Dawn. Notice that the towers are being struck by lightning, and then they burn on fire. And the burning towers of chaos is preceded by the devil's card. And notice he's sitting in between his pillars of slaves. And they are chained and bound to him. Why do you think the Bible talks about the red, hot pillar of fire? Here we see a Hebrew high priest anointing the phallic stone, anointing the phallic penis head. Why do you think you have to get on your knees to be anointed? You can watch my other video for a longer description, but believe me, anointing has to do with sex. And that's why the Hindu religion worships the lingam, which is the symbol of the phallic penis. Notice the sex magic of the male penis inserted into the woman, exactly like the Vatican, which takes us back to the red Canaanite Phoenicians. They give us the word phallus, which is the erect, hard penis, which gives us words like the palace. And we get our word master from the mast, which is the pole, or the fertilic symbol of L, and that's why it's called a sail. And a war ship gives us our word worship. And speaking of worship, the Mecca stone is the black Kaaba. And worshippers come up and rub and kiss the giant vagina or yoni. In the Encyclopedia of Wicca and Witchcraft, it says that the earliest representation of the moon deity was known to be a black obelisk or a black stone. Early legend recounts that this stone fell from the sky as though it had come from the gods themselves. And that's why Islamic tradition holds that the stone fell from the heavens. And that's why 2001 shows that the black obelisk fell from the sky and brought knowledge to the apes. But what knowledge did it bring? It showed them how to kill. And they show the black obelisk and who to kill for, the sun and the moon. So was the sacrificial 2001 ritual supposed to elevate man to a higher level? And we get many of our laws from the black phallic pillar of the black obelisk, the code of Hammurabi, the black obelisks of Assyria. And Chaldean means moon worshippers. And the Chaldeans worshipped the moon god Sin. So we see that the ancient primordial fertility pole is still being used today. And that's why many things in our society, like games and even food, is actually a symbol of fertility, the phallic symbol. And that's why we drink from the fertility cans and the wine bottle and the beer bottle, which comes from the king of the Canaanite gods, El. And that's why the letter L is shaped like an erect penis. And Asherah is the consort to El, the Canaanite Semitic mother goddess, also known as Inanna, Ishtar, Astarte, and Venus and Aphrodite. And Ashtaroth wore the head of a bull, Isis and Apis. And we find the Asherah-style figurines in Judea. And Asherah is the ancient tree goddess of the Hebrews and Arabs. And Asherah means the fire woman in Hebrew. Exactly like the fire woman Moses encountered with her burning bush. And Asherah gives us our word ash, as well as astrology. And Asheroth and Ishtar gives us our word star. And of course, it gives us our word Easter from Ishtar. And that's why we use the eggs and the fertility of the bunny. And the Bible speaks of the Asherah pole. Break down their altars, smash their sacred stones, and cut down their Asherah poles.
We don't care who likes it or not, as long as we know it's the truth. As long as we know it's the truth.
Give us your tired and weak, and we will make them strong. Bring us your far-run songs, and we will sing along. Leave us your broken dreams, we'll give them time to mend. There's still a lot of love living in the promised land. Living in the promised land. Our dreams are made of steel, the prayer on that river is to know how freedom feels. There is a winding.
I mean, when are we gonna wake the fuck up, yo? The Republicans, the Democrats, all birds of the same, man. Pepsi and Coke, Oxycontin, Percocet. Which one you want? Choose your poison. Who was the bird they connected to? The big corporations, the banksters, the ones who stealing all these monies. The one while we all in debt. The Corporation of America's in debt. Through the Act of 1871. And while America, well, DC, sold the 10 miles of DC, which was made private into a corporation through the Act of 1871. If America is such a free country, rich country, right? And we fought for our independence, then why are we paying taxes? If this was specifically put in our Constitution that we're not supposed to pay taxes to corporation, it was. Who do America owe that to? It's not the Chinese, they're buying about that. So who do we owe that to? The Fed, right? Okay. Most people don't know that the Fed is a private corporation. Who it's owned by? Who is it owned by?
Also called the 13 ancient bloodlines that have always ruled this world, and they still do. I believe one of the top ones on that list is the Rothschild family. The Rothschilds, they own like 80% of the world's wealth. This one family is so rich that they can feed, clothe, and shelter every man, woman, and child on the planet, this one family. Look it up. Number 6, the 3 city-states of the world that control the world. The first one would be Washington, D.C. in the United States. And Washington, D.C. is where the military control is. The second is London, England in the UK. And London, England is where the monetary control is, the money system. And the third one is the Vatican City in Rome. And the Vatican City is where spiritual control is. These are the 3 ways that they control the whole world. Through the military, money, and religious and spiritual establishments.
Now, there's some very easy solutions. I could eliminate all income taxes tomorrow, and have more than enough money to fund the government by using some other guy's bright idea. We tax the Federal Reserve at 0.0006, doubles our money until we decide to put them out of business permanently, because we certainly should not have central banks.
What angers the hell out of me is the damn punctified preachers and leaders who know the truth but won't speak it. If you know the truth, speak it. And if you're gonna die, damn it, die on the truth that you're a man enough to speak.
The FBI has spied on and sought to persecute everybody, white or black, that tampers with control of the poor people.
That's right, that's right.
Whether you're communist, socialist, whether you have an idea that could stimulate the masses with truth, the FBI pounces on you. In the same year that the FBI was established, the Anti-Defamation League was established. The Anti-Defamation League has been used to cover up and to fight against anybody that is not necessarily anti-Semitic, but anybody who will expose those Jews who have been at the root of the control of the banking system.
And those people who have been yelling, oh, the UN's going to take over global conspiracy theorists, they've been crazy, but now they're right.
And who got the money? Hundreds and hundreds of banks. Any bank that has access to the U.S. Federal Reserve's discount. Tell us who they are. No.
You know, financial terrorism. They have the ability to tweak the knob.
I am proposing that the Federal Reserve be granted new authority.
They put on this show that they're bitter rivalries, you know, villains, and they really don't like each other. But behind closed doors, they buddy up for a drink and make deals.
Both the Republican and Democratic parties are owned by the same global elites. And on issues that matter to those global elites, they act as one.
They've wrapped themselves in the American flag, and they've talked about preserving American heritage and principles, and all the while they're working to merge us into a new world order where our sovereignty will be destroyed. We'll lose all connection with our American heritage.
They came on TV every day and told us, a depression is coming, a depression is coming, and people stopped spending money. We bought it. We said, okay, give the banks our money, give the private companies our money, anything to stay out of depression. And they saved Goldman Sachs. They saved GM. They saved Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Those companies are going to be making money hand over fist pretty soon. And the American taxpayer is going to be paying off that debt for the rest of our freaking lives. For 100 years or freaking more. And they want to say, they have the audacity to come on TV and say they saved us?
This is AIG, Goldman, and you know what? The Bavarian Illuminati, the Trilateral Commission, Goldman Sachs, and the Queen of England are not all bad.
Wow. Which side are you? Are we going to squeeze a couple of things?
Sure.
All right, first of all, let's do this one.
Mr. Banker, Mr. Please, how much does money mean? Won't you reconsider, mister? Won't you do this thing for me?
Around and wait for the one who's in power to make up his mind that he should end it, you'll be waiting a long time. And in my opinion, the young generation of whites, blacks, browns, whatever else there is, you're living at a time of extremism, a time of revolution, a time when there's got to be a change. People in power have misused it, and now there has to be a change, and a better world has to be built, and the only way it's going to be built is with extreme methods. And I, for one, will join in with anyone. Don't care what color you are, as long as you want to change this miserable condition that exists on this earth. Thank you.
Because it's all about that money. Monies. Google Marvin Bush. Top security of Securicom of the World Trade Centers. Research Neil Bush. He the one that made the bill that tried to sell a Porsche to Dubai. We already know who Jeb Bush. We already know who he is. His father gave Osama bin Laden, $3 billion to fight the Soviets. Then their grandfather, Prescott Bush, funded Hitler, Hitler's banker. Decent bank. First Union Bank, New York City. Yeah, locked up for trading with the enemy and treason. Then released because they Mason, Illuminati's, all together, man. Shit is funny, yo. People really been fucked, yo, and they getting rich and they getting rich. VPO is not even from this country, yo. British Petroleum. And they telling you you can't stand on your land that your founding fathers fought, that our ancestors fought for? Huh? They'll lock us up, give you a Class D federal, what? What the fuck is that? A federal charge, a Class D? I never heard of that. You giving shit when the kingpins ain't even get Al Capone and them ain't get that shit. But you ready to give it to some people that's taking pictures? Wow. That's where they getting at, people. Yeah, they really blatant now. Because the internet fucking up all their monies. Fucking up their monies. This is what we leaving our children, people? $37 trillion the cost of the bailout this year. How many people know that? Shit is just like, wow, yo. Wow, people losing their jobs. 150,000 Americans lost their jobs in June. We only in the third day. Independence Day is tomorrow. I'm going hard for all the Americans, the independents. Yeah, fuck that shit, man. Built this country, yo. The Rothschilds, they print out money, Federal Reserve, private. They just been raping everybody. And it didn't even matter if you was white or black during them times, but that's what they portrayed out there. So they can have us divide and conquer and stay away from that nigger and stay away from that cracker. All that ignorant shit, yo, they stealing everything, yo. They was rich elite families, yo, and they still running shit to this day since the beginning of time, since the oil shit. We could have had free energy since 1920, Nikola Tesla. Why fight all that? J.P. Morgan and the Rockefellers and the Ford families, and they said, oh no. When he demonstrated that with the Wallcliff Tower, and they seen that, and they said, well, where can we put the meter? J.P. Morgan words, oh, my peasants will have nothing free. Whoa, who was the peasants? I guess if he wasn't a, billion trillionaire, I guess he was talking to you. Us.
And every single member of Congress is impeachable for having abdicated their Article I responsibilities under the Constitution and serving as foot soldiers.
And try to wake people up and impart this knowledge to them and find out that they just have walls built in front of them. They want to be slaves. But we're making some chinks in those walls. You too can have a free press, and that's what it's going to take to get this country back without bloodshed. And I'm going to tell you right now, unless we can be successful in creating a real free press where the American people get different viewpoints other than those expressed in the establishment-controlled media, there's going to be a civil war in this country, and it's going to come soon. The only thing that can stop it is by waking up vast amounts of sleeping people. Sheeple is what they are. They are following the Judas goat right into the shearing pins, and from there they will go to the slaughter, and they will not know that anything is wrong until they smell the blood of the sheeple in front of them. That's why, in a White House memorandum, I was named as the most dangerous radio host in America, not because I'm going to go out and shoot somebody, but because I shoot documented facts, which cannot be refuted. That's why. That's what's dangerous. Seek ye the truth, and the truth will make you free, and nothing else will do it. Jesus Christ has never lied to anybody. Why won't you listen to him? Don't spread a rumor. Spread the truth. Document it. Prove it. Make it irrefutable, and you too will become dangerous to those who admire us in lies and enslave us.
Do you think that we'll ever see a day when there's enough people in this country that understand that simple, basic, essential concept in money, that things will change?
Well, I do. As some of our callers tonight demonstrated that, while others, particularly the one that wanted to know where's the money going to come from, still don't get it. Where's it going to come from? Well, it's going to come from a group of private banks that are going to essentially make a huge profit for the privilege. That is the key to our problems, folks. And until we all get that, we're not going to make any change. And that's really what I hope we do.
And I read today that the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, may have to resort to printing money as a special drawing right.
SDRs, yeah.
SDRs. Now, it's the same people that own the IMF.
Yeah, IMF was established.
Same people.
Yeah, same people. IMF and Bank of International Settlements, although sometimes they operate at odds. But the IMF was given the ability to have special drawing rights from our Treasury. So when they write a special drawing right, they write, pay to the IMF one special drawing right. That allows them to go into our gold reserves and buy gold for $42.20 an ounce.
No, wait a minute. No, explain that a minute. Who are these people and what can they do? What can they do?
The International Monetary Fund has a right to draw on our Treasury at the rate of $42.20 an ounce, the official price of gold. You remember?
What do you mean draw on our Treasury?
Well, that's what the special drawing right allows them to do. So instead of saying we're going to give them $1 billion, it's much cheaper if you just say, oh, well, at $42.20, they're only taking $40 million. But in reality, what they've really gotten is gold that's worth $900 and change. But in their world, a special drawing right and $1 are pegged at $42.22.
And who owns the IMF?
Well, it's a member banks that own the Federal Reserve. They just own it on a bigger scale. This is a worldwide organization. Yes.
I cannot believe we the people. How did it ever get this screwed up?
Well, we weren't paying attention. We took our eyes off the ball in the, basically with World War I and World War II. We allowed the Federal Reserve Bank of New York and its owners to consolidate their control over the world's financial system. And then over the last 90 years, they've just reinforced that with cement. So now trying to get out of it is going to be ridiculous.
Oh, man. That's a very spooky story that you just laid out there, these special drawing rights.
Yes.
I'd never heard about them.
Most people have not heard of them, and that's how the IMF draws its funds from its members, by special drawing rights.
And so the J.P. Morgans of the world, the Citigroups, the Goldman Sachs, the Shanghai Bank of China, it's the same people that are in there in this IMF?
Indeed. If you look at the history of World War I and II, especially World War II, under the trading with the enemy circumstances, the Bank of International Settlements and the IMF, well, actually more to the Bank of International Settlements, IMF was not yet in existence. The BIS actually sat around the table during World War II with representatives from the Bank of England, the Federal Reserve Bank, and the Bundesbank and the Bank of Italy. So, while on the battlefield they're killing each other by the thousands, inside the boardroom it's all business as usual. And, no crisis in the boardroom.
Always about the money, isn't it?
Yes, it is, yeah.
Just follow the old money.
All you have to do.
Christians and Muslims should never be at war with one another. Christians and Muslims should walk the path of Christ and Muhammad as brothers.
We don't care who likes it or not, as long as we know it's the truth. As long as we know it's the truth.
The problem is the monopoly game, which is controlled by the Federal Reserve, the private bank, which is actually controlled out of London, is manipulating all the dollars to put more and more people into debt.
Rothschild claimed to be Jewish. Not the nationality of a Jew, but Jew in terms of belief in God and a follower of divine revelation. But was Mr. Rothschild a moral man? Here's a man that had 5 sons, and he sent his 5 sons into 5 countries. 1 son went to England, 1 son to France, 1 to Austria, 1 to Italy, and another remained in Germany with the father. And from these sons and the money that these sons had, they worked and maneuvered and manipulated until they gained control of the central banks of England, France, Austria, Italy, and Germany. The control of these central banks went into the hands of individuals whose interests were not necessarily in harmony with the best interests of that nation. These privately owned central banks became the printer of the money and the extenders of credit of that particular nation. So government and politics, I wish the politicians didn't have to go. I wish the politicians didn't have to go. But I understand you're very busy. Government and politics in Europe was always controlled by the money interests. Wars were fought, and in order to fight a war, governments had to borrow money. They borrowed money from these central banks. The central banks waxed rich because they loaned money and charged interest, then took over when one side prevails against the other. And when governments could not satisfy the indebtedness, then some of the natural wealth of that country flowed to the bankers. They would loan money to both sides in the conflict because they really didn't care who won or who lost. I mean, it's hurtful, but a Jew, Rothschild, loaned money to Adolf Hitler. A Jew, Rothschild. God damn it, you better not open your mouth to call me no anti-Semite. Rothschild and Paul Warburg loaned money to Hitler. Hitler killed little Jews while Rothschild and Warburg stayed in the finest hotels in Europe. But damn it, if you can't call Rothschild anti-Semitic and Warburg an anti-Semite, then don't you open your mouth against me. In a book titled None Dare Call It Conspiracy by Gary Allen and Larry Abraham on page 45, the question is asked, where do governments get the enormous amounts of money that they need? Most, of course, comes from taxation. But governments often spend more than they are willing to tax from their citizens, so governments are forced to borrow. The public is led to believe that the government borrows from the people through savings bonds. Actually, only the smallest percentage of the national debt is held by individuals in this form. Most government bonds, except those owned by the government itself through its trust funds, are held by vast banking firms known as international banks. For centuries, there has been big money to be made by international bankers in financing governments and kings. Such operators, however, are faced with certain thorny problems. We know that smaller banks operate to protect themselves by taking collateral. But what kind of collateral can you get from a government or a king? The process through which one collects a debt from a government or a monarch is not a subject taught in the business schools of the universities. And most of us, never having been in the business of financing kings or governments, have not given the problem much thought. But there's a king financing business. And to those who can ensure collection, it is a lucrative business. An economics professor named Stuart Crane notes that there are two means used to loan governments, money to governments and kings, and two means of collecting on that money. Whenever a business firm borrows big money, the creditor obtains an influence in management to protect its investment. Like a business, no government can borrow big money unless that government is willing to surrender to the creditor some of its sovereignty. Certainly, international bankers who have loaned hundreds of billions of dollars to governments around the world command considerable influence in the policies of such governments. But the ultimate advantage, listen to this, that the creditor has over a king or a president is that if the ruler gets out of line, the banker can finance his enemy or his rival. Therefore, if you want to stay in the lucrative financing business of kings and governments, it is wise to have an enemy or a rival waiting in the wings to unseat every king or every president to whom you lend money. If the king doesn't have an enemy, you got to be able to create one. Now I'm going to show you why America is in so much debt. The founding fathers of this nation said they did not want private control of a central bank because to them such a bank would be the detriment of this democracy. Thomas Jefferson saw a privately owned central bank as worse than an opposing army. Thomas Jefferson wanted to keep America free from those things that led to the destruction of many nations and governments in Europe. And so a privately owned central bank was unthinkable to the founding fathers of this nation, and therefore it was written in the Constitution that only Congress should have the right to print the money and the instruments of credit. Don't be frightened for me. You better be frightened for yourself. Because some stuff is going down in America right now as we speak. That all our lives are in danger right now. Did you know that from 1900 to 1913, the federal government had a very manageable debt into the millions of dollars? But in 1913, something happened. 4 things were set up in the year 1913. First, the Federal Reserve Bank, the IRS, the FBI, and the Anti-Defamation League of B'nai B'rith all were set up in the same year. Is that a coincidence? Or is there a tie-in? I don't have time to go into all the details. But by the help of Allah, I'll do that in further writings if it is the will of Allah. But it's enough to say that two German Jews, Paul and Felix Warburg, and the international bankers of Europe wined and dined a senator named Nelson Aldrich, who was the maternal grandfather of Nelson Aldrich Rockefeller. And they wined and dined him for 2 years, showing him the central banks of Europe. Senator Aldrich came back to America and was given the job of being a part of the study of the national monetary system. Nelson Aldrich with Paul Warburg had a secret meeting in Jekyll Island, Georgia, off the coast of Georgia. And in that secret meeting, what came out of it was the basis of the Federal Reserve Act. They tried to get it through Congress under the name the Aldrich Federal Reserve Act. But since Aldrich was so tied to the international banking system, the members of Congress under the leadership of President Taft, they voted it out. So they went back to the drawing board and they redid it. And they pushed it through on December the 22nd, 1913, just as Congress was about to break for the Christmas recess. Wanting to get home quick, they pushed it through. And the Federal Reserve Act became law. But in 1912, there was a great presidential election where William Taft was challenged in his own party by Teddy Roosevelt. Roosevelt was financed by some of these international bankers. They hated Taft for his derailing of the Aldrich Federal Reserve Act. So they wanted to get at Taft. But they felt that a Republican shouldn't bring this act before Congress. It would be better if it came through a Democrat. So the same bankers put money behind Woodrow Wilson. And Woodrow Wilson sold the American presidency to the international bankers. He was elected in 1912, and in 1913, the Federal Reserve Act became law, and the Central Bank of the United States was taken over by a group of private banking institutions. Then somebody else began printing the money. Like Rothschild said, he don't care who rules as long as he controls the purse strings. In 1913, America was not yet at war. Now that the bank that prints money is in the hands of private interests, the idea is to push up and inspire the government to borrow. How do you do it? Get America into war. The war in Europe started in 1914. And by 1917, under a lie about the Lusitania being sunk by German subs, the American people were called into a war to end all wars. Oh, this is heavy, man. mean, you can't believe how wicked, how low down and rotten. Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. You can't believe how wicked these people are. To play games with your lives and the lives of your babies. Create a war just to get more money, to charge more interest, and send your babies to die for bullshit. Excuse me, but bullshit is the dropping of a cow or a bull. It's BS, it's lies, it's deceit. And the American people went to war in 1917. And black people sued to become a part of the war. Because we didn't want to be left out of America. So America signed us up to fight the war. And black men died, but they don't know what the hell they were dying for, and neither did the white ones know what they were dying for. But the man of sin gotta be revealed. And I thank God that he put it in my heart. I don't have no fear of those bastards. I want to expose them all. When America started borrowing money, they had to have a way to pay it back. And that's how they thought of the IRS. Then they started taking income tax. But by that time, the Rockefellers and the Carnegies had their money in trust funds, and they had found a way to get around paying taxes. But the taxes were for the poor and the middle class. It was a gradual income tax that was to keep on escalating. And in the same year, the FBI was established. Come on, man. Come on. You think the FBI is out here to fight crime? Come on, man. The FBI have done some of the most wicked criminal things in this country against the citizens of America.